Hi everybody, I'm Jake Johnston and this is Jake Showcase. I do videos on Wednesdays. Today I'm going to tell you about the story about the time I asked out the cheerleader. Now it was for a school dance, and if you want to skip the story, I basically got 249 no's. You see, back in my day I went to a Catholic school and we had a thing called the semi-formal dance. And what that was is, unlike other dances, we actually had to ask out a girl to the dance. I was in 10th grade, and basically I had gone through a year, and I sort of understood that these semi-formals were kind of important. I planned in advance to, who I might ask out. Basically, in my head, at night, I would be dreaming and thinking of who I would like to ask out the most through the least. I listed off every single girl in my grade in order, and a couple grades, that were, before and after me, of who I'd like to ask out. And I came up with 249 potential names from top to bottom. You have to understand, I was extremely small. I'm still a small guy, but at that time, I wasn't quite the smallest guy in the country still, but I was pretty close, and I was an extremely tiny person. I was far shorter than all the guys by a long shot, or almost by a whole foot. I must have been about 5 foot, or maybe even in the 4s still, when I was in grade 10. In fact, women were totally larger than me too. There might only be 1 or 2 that were sort of close to my height at that age. In general, I looked at women as sort of big, giant, beautiful monsters. So they kind of scared me. In my dreams, I had the highest who I'd like to ask out totally the most, who'd be totally awesome to go with, all the way down to the least. Like, you'd go with them, but, because the impetus is on the guy to ask out the girl. Now, later on, we also had a thing called the turnabout where the girl asked out the guy, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I was way in advance thinking of who I'd like to go, and I was always nervous about it because I didn't have much luck with women whatsoever. In fact, coming out of elementary school, I thought, you know what, high school is going to be all different. And it only took me about 6 months into high school to realize it wasn't going to be different at all. So it was a big challenge. Anyway, right at the top, or right near the top, was this one girl, and she was a cheerleader, and she was gorgeous. Seriously? Cheerleaders? Come on now. Come on now. Not only was she gorgeous, she was pretty well developed, if you know what I mean. She was the cheerleader that was at the top of the pyramid all the time, which makes sense because she was short. And I thought, my God, that'd be perfect. That'd be absolutely perfect. The thing is that she was really, really nice to me. That was the main reason I thought she was so good. She was nice to me. There was a lot of pretty girls, and there were some shorter girls, but she was the prettiest, shortest, and nicest girl to me personally. So I thought, you know what, this might actually go. You see, in our high school, there was 2 different cafeterias. There was basically the one cafeteria for like the cool kids, or the 90210 kind of people, right, who have money and looks and everything good. And there's the other cafeteria for kind of like everybody else, kind of like the nerds, the drama people, and the foreign students. Me, I clearly didn't fit into either one of the 2, but I basically had to go to the lower kind of cafeteria all the time, and I was always nervous because a lot of times to go in the other cafeteria, I get made fun of a lot. And that other cafeteria had some really pretty girls. And you see, it was separated by this really, really long hallway. So it was very divisive within the high school itself. You're either in the kind of the cool area, or you're kind of not in the cool area. And I was kind of like the kind of guy who would go out and sit under a tree. But anyway, in the 10th grade, I was really psyched up, and I thought I had planned it all out perfectly. Right? Now, I just had to get the nerve up to go and ask her. Of course, she was always sitting with all the jocks and, all like the rich guys in there, as usual. And I went towards the cafeteria like about 2 or 3 times, but I always chickened out and would back out. Anyway, because she was at the top, or very, very close to the top, I really, really had to get up the nerve, and I've been thinking about it for about a couple of weeks. So I finally said, I gotta do it, I gotta do it, I gotta do it. Now, when I was a kid, I used to really, really like the Pepsi. I really liked Pepsi. Pepsi was my drink. And I particularly liked cans of Pepsi because it had more fizz in it. Right? And there was a machine that was in that cafeteria. It was sort of like a good excuse to go to the cafeteria because, generally speaking, I sort of wasn't invited. So I went to the machine, grabbed my soda, and went out the back door real quick. Finally, I said to myself, okay, you gotta do it. Right now. Now or never. 1, 2, 3. So I held my breath, and I started drinking my Pepsi. Walked through all the cafeteria with all the guys hooting and hollering at me, "Oh, Jake, 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 Jake." I never really understood why I would get hooted and holler at. I know I was short, but, that was the only reason I seemed to really stand out for everybody. Anyway, she was sitting right up at the edge of the table there, and I walked over to her with my Pepsi in my hand, and I said, hey, how you doing? Those nerves, those butterflies, whatever you want to call them, were just bubbling. And so was the Pepsi. I got up to her, and I said, I took a drink of Pepsi, and right then, I think I burped or sneezed. I don't know what happened, and it came shooting out of my nose onto her. She was mortified, and so was I. I couldn't believe it. I had just shot Pepsi out of my nose onto her as I was waiting for her to respond to me asking her to go to the dance. Well, she said she was going with somebody, which I was sure that, I was, disappointed to hear. But the main thing was I was completely mortified, and I went running out of the cafeteria as fast as I possibly could. If this is how it's going to go, this is a really bad start. It actually was a bad start because I actually went through every single name, every single girl that I could see might go to the dance with me, and I got 249 no's. No. Those reasons were so varied, it was unbelievable. Anyway, that was just one incident. But during that dance, I just couldn't believe, that incident and how dramatic it was for me. And yes, I did end up going to the dance, but I'll save that story for another time of what happened. I guess the main thing is that I was trying my best, and I felt good about that, but I felt absolutely terrible about that story, and I'll never forget it. I guess the moral of the story is keep your nose up, and you gotta go for it every once in a while, even if you get shot down. And shot down, and shot down, and shot down. Yeah, and don't drink Pepsi while you're asking out somebody and you're nervous. Thanks so much for watching Jake Showcase, everybody. Please like my video below and subscribe to my channel up above. I do my videos on Wednesdays, and I hope you have a wonderful day.